I don't agree, because like then you would say that Ronald Reagan is a populist, and that I don't agree with.
No. She is not different. She is
He's just a
actually the
celebrity.
very famous TV star,
Yes,
movie star.
no. We're talking about Ronald Reagan.
Okay.
But
Very
there's a
famous
difference between.
movie star.
I think populism is what some people do. I mean, it's easier to become a
Okay,
populist
let's
if
say
you're famous.
he was popular.
He was popular, yeah.
Mm.
That's different. But why are people popular? Are they popular because they look good on television, or are they?
Okay,
an opinion
popular is
leader?
going to be the populist. Some cases.
I think populism in itself is trying to appeal to what the majority of the people are feeling, and not coming up with solution, but just tapping into their emotions, into their underbelly, and giving exactly sound bites that tap into that without giving any concrete solutions, just creating followers, giving people what they want, not giving them solutions, but giving them what they want. That are populists.
The people who have some sort of attitude, which I always be with you, and I always walk with you. Such kind of attitude.
Right.
If the people person have, we can call he or she is a populist.
Right. So, for example, in the Netherlands, we had a politician who was shot. Actually, by the way, he was killed. His name was Pim Fortuyn.
He was killed.
He was killed. He was a member of.
Recently?
No, a long time ago. Not a long time ago. Maybe 20 years ago. He was a member of parliament for the socialists, and but because he was also an academic, an independent thinker, so he didn't always agree with his party line, and he just had his own opinion. And he felt very strong about his own opinion, and he didn't always want to conform with the party line. Therefore, he became independent. And then he was actually, because he was gay. He was very much offended by immigrants in the Netherlands who were Muslim, who didn't have respect for gays, who felt gays are lower than pigs and whatever. And
You mean he support immigration?
no. What he was saying, he said, okay, this is ridiculous. In my own country, we have in the Netherlands we have the freedom, and gays have equal rights to any other. How come that people who live in our country can tell to me that I'm a pig? That is incredible. Those people do not fit into the Netherlands. They don't want to adjust. And I feel that if you don't want to adjust, then please leave the country. That's what he was saying. That was 20 years ago. In the Netherlands, we had a tradition of multiculturalism, of political correctness. People did not say this. People ignored the fact that the crime statistics were higher, that there were lots of problems with immigration. But they said, okay, now we are this rainbow nation, and we're trying to. He was the first politician who always said exactly what he wanted. But what happened is that he was the first time who said it, and he got so much support from people saying, oh, finally there's a politician who says what we are feeling. And he started to use that and tap into that. He still was a well-thinking person, but he actually noticed that, oh, if I just put a little of that into my speeches, then all the good things in my program I can carry on the power of this immigration thing. So he was a true populist, not because what he was saying, what people were hearing was not what he was saying. I knew him very well. He was my economics professor at the same time. And he was a very intelligent man, but he was also very dangerous. He really embarrassed politicians in front of the camera because he was just smarter than the rest. But he was a true populist in the sense that he used the underbelly to drive his own political agenda. And 2 nights before the election, he was very close of actually getting a landslide victory. He was killed by an animal rights activist. Thank God. Because I was very much afraid that he would have been killed by an immigrant, because that would have been like the beginning of, I don't know, maybe the beginning of a kind of like a civil war.
Why he is killed?
By an animal rights activist.
What
And somebody who very much cares about the well-being of animals. Basically, a guy with a narcissistic problem. He felt that if Pim Fortuyn would become the president of the Netherlands, then that would be the end of the democracy in the Netherlands. So he killed him in. But basically, I think what really drove him was just to make himself important.
Okay, but so the victim was the one of the person from the animal party, but it sounds like something behind that. Even if he was the member of the animal party, but
No, he was operating by himself. He was not even a member of an animal party. He was operating by himself, and they traced him back that he actually had been involved in like raids on farms and he let a lot of animals who were held in captivity, let them escape and things like that. So he was driving a kind of extremist animal liberation agenda by himself.
Okay, but still I cannot believe that was that the so much serial situation for him, even he had to decide to kill the very popular candidate.
Why do people become suicide bombers? It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I think that people want to become. I think if a lot of people who do these things, like in the United States, who take a gun and go into a classroom and shoot, they want to be on television. They create their own purpose, and they want something bigger in their lives because they feel that they don't matter. They are just a regular person, and they feel that's not enough. They have goals, but they don't have the skills and the capacities to do something positive in their lives. So they take a gun and they shoot people.
Okay.
Because they amplified themselves, their own ego. They're in the newspapers, and it doesn't even matter to them that they die in the process. Their life gets a meaning.
Okay, and then another next question is, were there any other people came out who have the same sort of idea to insist about the threat by the immigrants after him?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So many.
So actually, he got killed. His party still made a big victory. And they were not the biggest, but they were the number 2 party. But what happens with all populist parties is that his party is actually had his name was the Lijst Pim Fortuyn. His name was Pim Fortuyn, so it was even named after him. And
so he became a legend.
He became a legend, but everybody around him didn't have any experience, didn't have any skills to be a politician. So it was just the cult of this one person, and everybody around him was useless. There was a huge power vacuum after he was killed. So there was a lot of internal strife and a lot of things that went wrong. So the party was gone after a year and a half, 2. The party was gone. There were empty seats in parliament. That's how bad it was. The people, I mean, basically no, it was. And then another politician, he split himself off from the Liberal Party, and he became the new spokesman who addressed the same issue, immigration. He's still famous. I think you will see him a lot if they talk about populism in Europe. Geert Wilders, you know him, right? Geert Wilders, he stepped into it.
But still he has power.
He lost tremendously during the European parliamentary votes. Yeah, so people they're fed up with him. Also, another problem is that there's a new darling who got all the votes. There's a new politician who is trying to get votes.
Similar to Geert Wilders?
It will happen. The same thing.
Similar to him?
Similar to him. Yeah.
So eventually, still many people feels the same threat about the immigrant.
I think that this issue has not been resolved.
Why so many people support for populist people, politicians? Why?
I think that the Netherlands has a problem in the sense that political correctness, the way that we try to compromise. Our political system is, because we have so many parties, very much revolves about making compromises with people. But we have a culture of being explicit, of making a clear opinion, expressing yourself, doing things out in the open. But the political system really works by making alliances, by talking with people, and that you don't do that in Parliament. Like in England, there is actually much more debate going on, like fierce debate going on, and people really speaking up their mind than in the Netherlands. A lot of the things in the Netherlands are decided outside of Parliament, and this became a big topic. People feel that if you want to do politics, then do it in Parliament. But don't do it. But that's not the way it works. So
still, people believe some sort of the chance any time for everybody to do or to make the influence on politics.
Absolutely, and there is, because like now we have Thierry Baudet. He became the second largest party from nothing. And I'm sure he will be gone because he's already stumbling his way through Parliament. He's making so many mistakes. He just got sworn in, but he's making so many mistakes. He reminds me of, like, in Europe we have these. Actually, not only in Europe, but in university you have these fraternities, these sororities, these student societies.
Fraternity.
Yeah, and he's a typical member of that. They like to like make a lot of they talk a lot, but it's more about the art of rhetoric than about contents. And he's a typical example. So he's not stupid, so he can make an interesting argument, but it's an interesting argument. It doesn't hold water. It's just an interesting argument.
Okay. It's interesting. So the situation in the UK is very serious and not to be solved easily.
And they are just letting the country sink. They're really just letting the country sink. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that, I mean, in that sense, I really like they have this yellow vest.
Why do you say sink?
Well, I feel that they're letting the country sink. It's 3 steps back.
To make the people get involved in a positive way for the situation.
Right.
You are so much influenced by government or media. You should see the fact.
Explain to me, Ura-san. Try to convince me.
I tell you, exchange rate, economic growth. What's wrong now?
Exchange rate? What do you mean?
No, nothing changed.
Oh,
Nothing changed.
oh, you mean the economic effects?
Yeah.
Okay, well, basically, the exchange rate. Actually, the exchange rate, the pound is not doing that well.
No, the same.
Well, I mean, so Brexit is not a fact yet. We don't know exactly how it's going to pan out. People think, oh, well, I think basically this will only we can only tell after about 4 or 5 years what the real effect is. I think the biggest effect is that
Usually, ordinary people understand, or business people understand what's going on next 3 to 4 years. So stock market will start to fluctuating. Nothing happened.
we will see. We will see.
Exchange rate, nothing changed.
All the multinationals are getting out of the
So
UK.
because
It's going to be
because this is very similar to the United States.
Hmm.
British is very much, ordinary people, or many people misunderstand the propaganda
you know what happened this week? It's a small incident, but I think it's very illustrative for what Britain is doing to itself. This week there was a vote in the UN about a small island somewhere in the Pacific, which was a colony of England. It's a small island.
near from France.
No. Somewhere in the Pacific, very far away. Anyway, what Britain had done a long time ago was that it colonialized these islands, and they repatriated from the largest island. They repatriated the entire population to other islands, and they made a base there. So it was actually to support the war effort, etc. They made a base. They shared it with the Americans. The indigenous people, they always tried to basically accuse England and say, okay, how can this be, and why did you do that, and this is a crime against humanity, etc., etc. They never managed to get it to the UN because most of the people supported England. This time, they won gloriously. So that is a pure indication that England is losing so much diplomatic power in the world. Everybody voted with the islanders, not with England anymore. And I think
What kind of island is this?
This is a very small island in the Pacific.
British owned it?
Yeah, it's a British colony.
British colony?
Yeah. So basically, it was a British colony.
How many population is it?
Very, very small.
100?
100? But I don't know. But it's really small. It's really small.
Maybe 100 or 200.
So, but it's very small. But basically, so they were too small. They didn't have any influence in the UN, but versus England. So they never could get their way, even though this was clearly not very pretty what the British had done to these people. But so far, they were never successful until now, and bang.
Must be careful when we go observe the kind of big event, incident, and we should observe kind of incident with calmness, with more wider perspective. Otherwise, misjudgment be caused by media, caused by government. Okay, government has big influence, and media has big influence. But many cases, those media and government try to mislead the people. Like Brexit is the same. Okay, must be careful. No deal is there's many people. This is terribly bad thing, but we must be calmly consider which one is the best way to go.
Well, I mean,
so nobody understands. Nobody considering deep insight. This is because I'm a very heavy study for Confucianism, so we try to consider for what is prevailing in the world. And we must thinking about what is the true what is the best way to get answer?